girls.
Yes.
Hey, Kramer, yesterday when
Why do you check that as a question mark? Yesterday?
when you were in the car, you were like talking to yourself.
Oh, I was saying a Snapchat video.
It was weird because Allie and I were like, oh my god, he's talking to himself, and we're like, oh my god.
Well, I think just assume she means invisible thing. Also, because I was sending a Snapchat video.
Because I just saw
a
it.
Snapchat video with you.
It was
Didn't you cross the mantle?
What?
I haven't seen those words.
Did you say crust my mantle?
No, I said, ooh, the crust of the mantle.
I thought you said, ooh, the crust of my mantle, and I was
I thought you said crust my mantle. I was like, what?
I was like, I don't even know what that is.
One of the students was asking about, how is it that if,
Merrick's butt. That was one of my favorite things to learn.
Not
that.
It's okay. It's, that's a plausible,
People were in he said that, I was like, that was one of my favorite things to learn about, but that's not what I was talking about.
Buttes?
But she was like, she was like, Merrick's butt, and I was like, that was my favorite thing that we talked about. That's not what I was saying.
Morgan asked the question of how is it that while normally speaking you have to dig deep into the earth to see old fossilized remains, how is it that some places on the earth there's old fossilized remains on the surface of the earth? And the reason is upthrust. Upthrust is when in the mantle, when there's convection currents that will like line up just right, they'll put a lot of upward force on the crust, and when there's enough upward force in a concentrated area, it looks like somebody under the earth just like punched, and there's like a rock that now is coming out of the earth. And the newest, there really wouldn't be any fossilized remains on the top of this thing, presumably, because, well, I doubt many things are living up there and dying, but underneath here, this is rock that potentially is millions of years, millions of years ago was on the surface, and now it's out because of upthrust, so that's why the mantles are there. And I think this is just kind of neat that stuff like this is just out there to be seen in
Kind of like a reverse one, like instead of the like punching it up, it's like a hole.
like a sinkhole. Yeah, that actually, that does happen.
Like the Grand Canyon?
When, well, the Grand Canyon would be like a slow, the Grand Canyon would be an example of like erosion, because that would be the exact opposite effect. And in fact, the erosion of the Grand Canyon has, in some senses, a similar effect because it's cavitating away millions of years of rock. And in the Grand Canyon, you have the same ability to see fossilized remains from millions of years ago just by looking out and not digging. You can just see them on the rock. There is well, let me grab a picture of this because there was a sinkhole in like Guatemala maybe just a year or two ago that was, if I'm guessing, probably 4 or 5 times the size of this room, and it dropped like 50 feet down into the earth, and it just happened suddenly. The ground underneath the ground underneath got so watery, like it's just got so wet that the structure of the earth was not very solid in that spot, and it just gave way.
I feel like that happened in house because like
It's quite possible.
I would record it.
What'd you say?
The last 5 seconds of it.
Like recently, like someone's house was on that. Yes?
Wait, someone's house got something?
I think so, I think it was on the news. Oh, this is good, is that the devil's
The devil's what?
there, it's in Florida.
This is kind of what I was, and something like this could happen
Anytime.
almost out of the blue, and now, just somewhat spontaneously without previous detection.
it did.
You could just be driving down the road and then like, whoop.
Oh, that's exciting. Yes, it's going, ah!
Because the guy had a car and then it just like happened and she like fell and then the car fell on top of her. It was big mess.
Most of these,
Ooh, that's cool.
yeah, it is terrifying. Most of these are in farther south of here because the soil,
They don't really give
the
us-
soil constituents down there are more, more conducive. What that is, I can't,
Oh,
Whoa.
I mean,
That's so
That's
cool.
cool. That's awesome.
I'd be like, this is
I've
my
never
underground
seen
swimming
water.
Is that water that's collected at the bottom of it?
yeah,
That's pretty blue.
They built stairs.
yeah,
Free sinkhole.
It's
That's
sunk and there were
awesome.
already stairs.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
What?
It's sunk and there were already stairs.
There are already stairs.
it's in Ghent, Belgium. See how
Funny
cool,
names.
how cool is this, that Wikipedia has that where you can just like, it's got the, degrees of latitude and degrees of longitude down, not just to the degree, but to the minute and the second. And not just to the second, but to the hundredth and the second. Like, they know exactly where that's at, like GPS wise. I think that's pretty sweet.
It's intense.
Like the laser thing you were talking about, could
Mhm.
you use that like to do stuff like this?
I would lean towards no, just because what that laser's doing is, the laser is basically concentrated high energy electromagnetic pulse. What does that mean? Concentrated, focused in one spot, high energy, duh, it's burning a plane. Electromagnetic pulse, that's what anything that makes light is. It's a vibration of the electromagnetic,
Wouldn't that like, make the plane not like work again if it's electromagnetic, then if it's electromagnetic pulse, cause that's what usually gets rid of the electricity and like internet and all that type of stuff, if it goes off.
So there's a couple things there, yeah. So the electromagnetism comes in multiple forms, right? You have visual light, you have infrared, which is less energetic than red light, but that's what heat is given off as. If you put on infrared goggles, all of us in here would look red and everything else would look blue.
That laser actually can form red, blue, and yellow light.
Oh.
And they all do different things.
Cool. So they're sending out specific wavelengths of electromagnetic, specific wavelengths of electromagnetic waves that are going to heat up the metal to the point where it burns. Could you send out an electromagnetic pulse? That would confuse.
They have EMP bombs.
Yes, exactly. An EMP is an electromagnetic pulse. That's what EMP stands for. And it's a bomb that doesn't heat things up, but it sends out the frequencies of electromagnetism that will disrupt internet signals, TV signals, radio signals, and so on.
Like a solar flare,
Yes.
if it gets too close.
And if you dropped an EMP like in a big city like New York, you could have a couple blocks of New York that would be like electromagnetic, or would be technologically, in a sense, like internet, TV, radio, all that stuff would just be like a dead zone.
It basically
In that
cuts you
region.
off from the rest of the world.
Right. So if you had that going off at, say there was like a local bank in town that had its servers backed up in one location.
What is that noise?
I think it's the back.
It's the bathroom fan that's got a bad bearing in it, and it probably should be fixed, because the bathroom fan would cost $25 at Home Depot. But,
I think that other one.
Well, cause,
needs to
you know, you said there's a blue light, wouldn't that like typically, cause how when you infrared, there's like, red's like, and like the red and yellow's like, tells you there's heat signature, and the blue's like cold and not heat, wouldn't that like
They said that the
technically
laser,
freeze?
the laser isn't just for blowing things up. Like, they can, instead of trying to make radio contact, they can just glimmer our light at them, like, hey, you don't see me, but we see you, you better turn around.
Oh.
You know, and then if they don't, at that point, they engage and will kill.
so,
I'm assuming.
yeah, because here, the thought would be, visual light, I don't think could cause something to light on fire. If it did, we should all be terrified of every light that we're around, right? Because every white light is a combination of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. The colors are there as so you know what you're pointing it at, and so as a kindness, like we
This is a
see.
secure area,
Yeah.
back up.
I suspect that the beam that it's sending out that's actually doing the heating is gonna be probably ultraviolet or beyond. Cause it would have to be something that would be very high energy. Very high energy.
I can't even find where they've even said what type of infrared light it is, or what type of
I
light
think
it
it would be
is.
compromising if they let that out.
And
That would
they
be-
won't say how far it's capable of attacking.
Probably very high if you could have a plane out of the sky with no jobs.
Mhm.
My big fear with that is that it just ends up in satellites and then they can like beam down to Earth, like,
But it probably won't
oh,
happen.
we don't want this person anymore, but house stuck
Well,
on
that,
fire.
well, yeah, but now the government won't aid NASA anymore,
That's
they basically got rid of NASA.
Yeah.
So now it's all like private contractors that are, you know, science geeks going into space that
Like the
can
guy who
afford it.
owns the Virgin Record stores who,
Yeah, has his own island.
yeah, and has a plane that goes up into, like above the stratosphere, into what's technically considered
Orbit.
space.
Mhm.
And just flies up and then comes back down, and he's planning on making that like open to
A
people.
ride.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's gonna be pretty,
Mm-hmm.
he's made a plane that will literally go into space. And yeah, he was the first person to privately go into space. Like, it was not a public government endeavor, it was him on a
He's
plane.
got enough money. He owns his own airline, his own island, it's on record label.
Because if you think about it, like this comes to the idea of science versus technology. The first time you come up with any idea, it's science. Everything you do after that becomes technology. So there was a time when going up into space was really challenging and not seemed to be possible, per se. And we took, at one point in time, Robert Oppenheimer was the big guy. He was the genius behind not only the atomic bomb, or one of the geniuses behind the atomic bomb, and one of the geniuses behind the rocket program. Let me see if I can. Manhattan Project. Maybe I have him confused with somebody else. We didn't send a rocket into space until the 60s. Like, anything into space. We couldn't devise a method of propelling an object to the speed that would be necessary to escape the Earth's gravity, which is like 20,000 miles per hour, until the 60s. But now that we've done it since the 60s, it's readily available in college textbooks. So anybody who goes through, a college study of physics or rocket science, you can literally major in rocket science. Because what's the thing like, oh, I'm not a rocket scientist, but some people actually are. If you majored in aeronautical engineering,
Mhm.
anything like that, you would, with just your college education, have the knowledge to be able to be like, hey, if I had the money, I could build a rocket. I could send myself into space. So what you basically get coming together are these people who are graduating from college with the wish that they had the money, and then the guy who owns the Virgin Record stores, who has the money and the desire but not the knowledge, coming together to be like, hey, the businessman's got the money, the college student's got the desire and the knowledge, and you put them together and they can make it happen. So it seems amazing that someone privately could send something into space, but in some sense it's not amazing, because anything that's more than, say, 20 or 30 years old in the science is something that's so well understood from a technology point of view that it's just, it's second nature. It's just something that's inevitable.
I met somebody that was on the Enola Gay at an air show when they dropped the bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and he said that when they pressed the button, because it's literally a button you press and then it falls. But he said they had no idea what they were doing. That they didn't even know that it was an atomic bomb until after everything was said and done. He said he felt horrible.
When Truman warned Japan that they were going to see something that no one's ever seen before, and said like stop fighting now or else. And whenever he made that claim, they sent out like 20 missions to Japan, and 20 people went over there, dropped duds, and then, or 19 people, whatever, and then the last person actually had the bomb. So, because think if you were a pilot, they wouldn't want the pilot to know that.
Yeah, they had no idea.
'Cause the pilot could have had a, could have taken the moral high road and like not dropped the bomb, basically.
Well, and a lot of times back then, especially on those old bombers, they would have missions and 80% of the time, they would just be told to turn right back around and go home.
Wow,
And they wouldn't follow through with anything.
right. Whew.
But that's what they're threatening now with South Korea. North Korea is threatening to bomb them with something nuclear. And the United States has said, go ahead and try it, because we'll bomb you. They already have deployed B-2s and F-22s, they said.
It's
Oh,
hard,
wow.
it's hard to, like, I'm certain that this Korean leader has an internet connection and could, Google Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
I mean, what's the half-life on an atomic bomb? Like, those people are still, their groundwater crops are still contaminated from radiation. I mean,
It happened 30 years ago.
like, how many years until all the radiation's out of the...
Let's find out. What's the half-life on uranium-235? 703.8 million years.
Wow.
Yeah.
You get jacked if you get dropped with an A-bomb.
What's a half-life? A half-life is the amount of time it takes for half of whatever radioactive material is there to decay. So basically, if there's a chunk of uranium sitting here today, it will sit and be radioactive for 703 million years and then be half of what it previously was.
So they still can't
Oh,
yield
yeah.
crops or,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
wow.
So it's gonna be 703 million years until half of the uranium that was there when the bomb dropped is that at 703 million years is just a ridiculous time frame because Homo sapiens in the fossil record only show up 200,000 years ago. That's 3,000 times longer than human beings have been on the planet.
90 to 166,
that's like a-
100,000.
That's a hauntingly disturbing. What was that?
90 to 166,000 killed in Hiroshima and 60 to 80,000 killed in Nagasaki, total 150 to 246 plus.
That is so many people.
What?
150,000 people.
To 246,000.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That is, because if you think about it, when we just had 2 weeks ago, like the deadliest day in Afghanistan in 3 years and 5 people died. To think how sensitive we've become to human casualties, which is a good thing, I think, to where like 5 people dying is a bad day. To
Well,
think
you
that-
only hear about it when they want you to hear about it. Like Syria's attacking their own people right now. And in March, 6,000 of their own civilians were murdered by their own people. So it's just what the media lets you in on,
And that's an interesting thought too, to think, right? Like yeah. So Syria, over the past, you said month or a month ago?
Last month,
6,000
6,000.
of their civilians died.
Killed by their own government
Oh man,
in air raids. So they drop bombs on them.
and that's the way that's portrayed in the media, because it must have gotten through the pipeline somehow, right?
Right, well, I'm sitting here on, usgovernmentnews.com, looking at stuff. But you don't turn on your morning news and see, 6,000 dead in Syria because it's not pertinent to us. What you're gonna hear about is Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan,
And Lindsay Lohan.
and Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah, what
Isn't-
the heck is that about?
Isn't that interesting though? Because I think there's
Who cares about Lindsay Lohan?
apparently a lot of people, because if a lot of people didn't, they wouldn't be talking about her. And that,
She screwed up her own life.
Yeah,
Yes.
she's a.
And we've heard enough about her life already.
there's a conflict as a business, because ABC, NBC, CBS are businesses. And anybody in business is out to make a profit. There's a conflict there of if you present the stories that get the most viewers, you may be presenting stories that aren't the best news to be giving to people. Because for whatever reason, people care about Lindsay Lohan, people care about, Tom Cruise's delusional mind, people care about.
Yeah, see, like I'm on MSN right now, most beautiful US mansions for sale, and I have to go to like 4 different hyperlinks to see what's going on in the world, you know.
Because the more people click most beautiful mansions in the world than click 6,000 people dying to the government's hands in Syria. At the same time, you'd have to sit there and think, well, what news should we be talking about? Should we be talking about the mansions, or should we be talking about? Because it's hard to imagine that 5 people die in Afghanistan and we make such a big deal about it, which I think we should, because that's good for us to know that we're sensitive to human life, yeah. But at the same time, to think that Syria, there's 6,000 people dying in it, and it's something that I recall hearing about Syria in the news last month, but the way that it was presented was nothing that really stuck in my mind. I mean, isn't that interesting? Because, and obviously Eric has been hotter on that chase than I am, to put that together. That's, and that's just, it, I don't know, it makes me a little bit, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, thinking about that. Makes you wonder.
Is that uranium-235 that he's holding in his hand? Is that what they're?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm just holding an A-bomb.
Well, yeah, I mean, the substance that would,
So you would either pull that apart or fuse 2 together, and that would create.
well, on an atomic level, the uranium is very, it's so large that the atomic nucleus is unstable. There's so many protons, there's 92 protons. Well, and you guys know this, like charged particles repel. So imagine trying to keep 92 like charged particles together in the nucleus. Not easy, it's likely to break apart. And that's what makes uranium so unstable. Whenever we start an atomic bomb, well, we, as if I have anything to do with it. We, the people, I'm using the royal we fire a neutron at the uranium atom. The uranium atom is so unstable that the neutron just getting close to the uranium atom causes the uranium atom to break
So
apart.
it splits into krypton and
Barium,
barium?
yep. So both of these, and when it splits into krypton and barium, it splits into krypton, barium, and 3 neutrons.
That's your explosion.
The 3 neutrons then find 3 more uranium atoms, and then those 3 uranium atoms break into krypton and barium, which 9 neutrons hit 9 uranium atoms, and it starts a chain reaction. Every time the uranium atom breaks apart, and this is visualized in the yellow spray here, there is a large amount of energy that's given off. Yeah, the excess energy, what is 1.9? Oh my gosh, what is this? 40,914 kiloelectron volts. Not exactly sure what that means, but it sounds exciting and big. The untampered nuclear weapon, the critical mass of untampered uranium in the little boy atomic bomb at Hiroshima, because the Nagasaki bomb was plutonium, was 56 kilograms, 120 pounds.
Oh.
It was a 6.8 inch sphere, or a 6.8 inch diameter sphere. Think about this for a second. Because uranium, each nucleus has 92 protons, and what would that be? 143 neutrons, because it has a mass number of 235. That's why we call it uranium-235. 143 neutrons, 92 protons per nucleus. A 6.8 inch diameter sphere, that's about this big, 120 pounds. Are you kidding me? That's incredibly dense. And the reason why it's so dense is because it has so many protons and neutrons, right? Protons and neutrons are the massive particles in the atom, and they're all located in that little tiny nucleus that takes up a pea-sized space of a football field. So you have this incredibly dense matter.
There's a video on YouTube of the Hiroshima. It's pretty crazy.
Is there a video?
They have a video of the bomb dropping, the atomic bomb.
That guy must be he must be like Vin Diesel or something. Like, how's he holding that up? That's gotta weigh 100 pounds. And he's definitely wearing a radioactive, like a
Hazmat.
radiation resistant suit. So he's wearing one of, that hazmat suit.
But even with those suits on, isn't there like a certain amount of time when you can be in like a radioactive area?
Yeah, so
Mhm.
like, basically anything that's radiation resistant is only so resistant to radiation, basically. Just in the same way that like a bulletproof vest is only so bulletproof. But yeah, that's, man.
You said like, I don't remember what you said her name was, but like her studies, she got herself killed because like the radioactive.
Madame Curie.
Mhm.
Is like the people in Japan like cancer and everything?
Oh, yeah,
They have, horrible radiation poisoning.
oh, yeah, let me,
Your skin like bubbles off and it's just so sad.
some of the people who, like, so when the atomic bomb goes off, the radiation is focused in a very small area. There's a certain blast radius. The innermost area, there's so much radiation that it gets so hot that, if you were in that area, you would vaporize. Yeah, you couldn't find a bone or a tooth or anything, you would literally turn into vapor.
Blast radius was 140 meters
For the atomic bomb?
with an air blast radius of 12.51 kilometers by, 7.7 miles.
Okay, so 7.7 miles would be the full radiation effect, but the internal, what was it, 140 feet?
140 meters.
140 meters, so that's 420 feet, 450 feet, I guess. If you were within 450 feet of the bomb dropping, you're vaporized. If you're within 7 miles of the bomb, you're still getting radiation, and you will potentially be able to survive the blast, but you might have got hit with enough radiation that would have caused cancer cells to where you would
It
have,
could hit me from my old house.
like,
It could hit me from all the way to my house from here. That's crazy.
radiation.
Smoking weed. Were they warned like to get out? Like
Usually
they
they
were gonna
don't.
be bombed?
No.
Usually
I
just,
had
they
no
just do
idea.
it.
All that Truman did was he made a public message that said, like, Japanese government, like, stop fighting, because by that point, the European war was over. The Germans and the Italians had given up. And,
And Pearl Harbor
yeah.
happened.
So he went to Truman said to the Japanese, like, stop fighting or else, like, you're going to see something that
Well, they
the
killed
world's
so
never
many
seen
of our
before.
people. I mean, they came in on these planes called A6Ms and basically just shot and bombed everything in Hawaii. I mean, shoot, if I was president, I don't know.
That's such a tough decision, because if you don't retaliate, then you have everyone who's like, in your group, everyone in that country's gonna like, not want to follow you anymore, because
Right.
their loved ones have died and you're not gonna do anything about it.
Right, and it sends a message to everybody else that, hey, you mess with us, you get the big guns.
Yeah, and also if
That's
they did
all.
retaliate, then we just look like wusses for not fighting back, so that's gonna think we're pushy,
Inhibited
especially at that time
cell
when
and the
the starting out was like,
abnormalities of intracellular
just
molecules
happens
in
like
the
that.
brain,
Mhm.
i.e. genetic mutations which could cause cancer cells.
that dude's skin was like,
Yeah, it's, I
And
don't know.
Korea really wanted to mess with this again?
Korea has nuclear capabilities.
They don't have means of deploying bombs, I don't think, outside of their own country.
They, 1,000 miles.
Oh, 1,000 miles.
They could, if they, the only United States territory that's in range is Guam. Now Guam is kind of Guam's really economically depressed right now, so it's, like,
Not really
I don't think they would target Guam. I think, like,
Guam realistic?
it's, Guam was a big territory for us during World War II because it was a United States territory that was, that's not gonna give us.
Why is that one
What?
like?
I'm not sure, but
Just like them to bomb.
anyway, I shouldn't have put depressed on there, apparently Adam Levine's the most depressed person in the world, right? He wouldn't have shown up there. I think, doesn't Adam Levine talk about he has mental
He's bipolar.
bipolar? Okay. But yeah, basically, North Korea has nuclear bombs, and North Korea has told, North Korea has pointed the bombs at South Korea, and they have them on missile launchers right now, like they're current, like, probably with one command of the